I don't know how to start. To say good morning would be fraudulent. Greetings of peace, paradoxical given the gruesome violence that brings us here together. There's no guidebook on how to do this. I'm not sure what I have to gain from today. Let's be clear. There's no closure in the permanence of death. There's no true justice so long as Deah, Yusor, and Razan are robbed of their lives. There is, however, re-exposure to horrific trauma that will continue to forever haunt our families long after you've all moved on in your own respective lives. So why am I here? Why did I leave behind a sick 2-year-old in his first full week of school across the country, dragging along with me a newborn a mere weeks old? To set the record straight. To honor Deah, Yusor, and Razan, to honor their lives, their legacies, their humanity. The last time many people saw Deah and Yusor was at their wedding, 6 weeks before they were killed. When I saw my baby brother on the dance floor with his beautiful bride, I burst into tears seeing him blossom into the kind, bright, accomplished, loving young man he was. I went into a corner of the hall to not let him see me, but he did. And a family friend hugged me and asked, "Why are you crying like it's the last time you're ever going to see him?" After their first dance, Deah ran towards me and buried me into his 6'3" frame, yanking my neck backwards uncomfortably as he often did from how tight his bear hugs were. He then cupped my face with both hands, looked down at me and said, "Sani, I am who I am because of you. Thank you." I sobbed even more. The last evening I spent with Deah and Yusor was in Deah's childhood bedroom on a quick visit home in January of 2015. The family trickled into his bedroom, my parents, my brother Faris, and myself, as Deah and Yusor shared their aspirations and goals as future dentists who will be training at the same incredible dental school. Should they open a clinic together? Should one or both specialize in pediatric dentistry or orthodontics? Or maybe they would inadvertently end up competing if they were the same specialty, so one should remain a general dentist and the other should subspecialize to receive all the referrals. We all laughed and giggled as they explored their bright future together. They gave us updates about a dental relief trip they were planning and orchestrating for Syrian children who were refugees in Turkey, and how they were selling toothbrushes out of laundry baskets outside of our local mosque to gather the funds they needed for supplies and equipment, a trip they were never able to go on. They were so happy. Deah told me as much. After everyone slowly trickled back out of his room hours before my early morning flight back to San Francisco, he sat me in his lap on the edge of his bed, and I asked him, "What is it like being a newly married man?" With tears in both our eyes, he said, "Yusor is amazing. She makes me so happy." How blessed and fortunate he was to find a life partner in Yusor. He then proceeded to pull his laptop out of his backpack and said, "I have something to show you," his eyes beaming excitedly, eager to see the reaction of his older sister. He opened up his CV, which he had formatted exactly after mine, making me smile. The content, though, blew my mind. I still remember my jaw dropping, reading the incredible service, research, and leadership he was involved in. He made dental school look like a breeze. His classmates adored him. I can tell you for a fact, medical school was no breeze for me. We both stood in the middle of his room as he gave me the last bear hug, upon which I looked up at him, neck crooked and all, and said, "I have never been more proud of you than I am in this moment." The last email Deah sent that we know of was sent on February 10th, 2015 at 1:09 p.m. and reads as follows. "Dr. Hershey, I hope you're well. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I was hoping you'd help answer a question I have. You've done a lot in your career, and I've thought a lot about what I see myself doing in the future. I've had an interest in orthodontics ever since I experienced its psychosocial aspect and changed my life. I also enjoy teaching. I see myself mentoring young adults and seeing them succeed. But I became hesitant when one of my mentors, a general dentist in Raleigh, said that becoming an orthodontist would limit my ability to volunteer in dental relief trips abroad, which I see myself doing a lot, and even locally. That's why I asked about your previous dental relief experiences. What do you think of what my mentor said, and do you still embark on these trips? Best wishes, Deah Barakat. The last voice message he left me, he was tearful, saying, "I love you, and I miss you so much, and I can't wait to see you again." The last Facebook post he made was of Deah, Yusor, and Razan partaking in Project Downtown, feeding our local homeless population. I still can't process looking down into Deah's casket, his lips blue, front tooth chipped from a bullet, and giving him the last kiss on his cold, lifeless forehead. The irony that this fatal shot to the mouth was what he had dedicated his life's work towards, giving people, young and old, rich or poor, the gift of a beautiful smile. I still can't process the horror of helping transfer Yusor's too young body and beautiful feet into her casket after being washed, and my inability to stay and help with Razan's because she still had blood coming out of her skull. I still wonder if I disappointed her by not being courageous enough to lift her as well. I could never have expected to be thrust into America's history of hate-based violence. But then the murders of Deah, Yusor, and Razan didn't happen in a vacuum. Anti-Muslim hate crimes increased 42% in 2015, fueled by the race-baiting rhetoric of the 2016 election season. The year after that, they grew 67%. The data shows that Islamophobic hate crimes rise in parallel with presidential elections. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, from 2015 to 2016, the number of anti-Muslim hate groups in the US grew 197%. While candidates reap political and financial gains, American citizens are losing their lives to this hateful rhetoric. Hate crimes across all marginalized groups are on the rise, and the deadliest attacks in history against LGBTQs, Jews, and Blacks have all happened in 2015 onwards. In our current political climate, it is not only acceptable, but indeed advantageous to demonize Muslims. It's heartbreaking, defeating, insulting to see the Muslim travel ban upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States. Yesterday, the words Irish, Catholic, Italian were pejoratives. Today, it's Muslim, Black, immigrant. Who will it be tomorrow? Professor Summers' testimony shows what our community has known all along. Deah, Yusor, and Razan were murdered in an Islamophobic hate crime. Let's call this what it is: a terrorist attack, an ideologically motivated act of violence. Craig Hicks entered the safety of Deah and Yusor's home and executed them because he didn't like the way they looked. Deah, Yusor, and Razan died because they were Muslim. Do you know how insulting, hurtful, demeaning, and traumatizing it is to take the words of the murderer who turned himself in smiling as the official version of events and call it a parking dispute? Reverse roles for a second and have a Muslim executing 3 American college kids who were not Muslim in their home. You don't even know the motive. What would we have called it? A terrorist attack. Everyone in this country would have heard about it. Instead, our community had to fight just to be heard on the local news. Somehow, When a white man commits gruesome acts of violence, he's a lone wolf, mentally deranged, or driven by a parking dispute. Words matter. Legal precedence matters. It's incomprehensible to me that in the state of North Carolina, hate crime statutes apply only to misdemeanors and not felonies like murder. Craig Stephen Hicks, I haven't been able to say your name until right now. I see you looking at me, and I have questions for you. 36 seconds. That's how long it took for you to shatter our lives forever. Why? How? Was it worth it? What would have happened had you decided on that fateful evening to join them for dinner instead? How might this day, June 12th, 2019, be different for you, for me, for all of us, and for Deah, Yusor, and Razan? Alas, I will never know. But this is what I do know. I will never hug my brother again. I will never be an aunt to their children. I will never have holidays with them, ever again. These are nevers that are as real as it gets for me, my family, and my community.